every night on his rooftop. You can see where I'm going with that. And so he would have stood here, and his city below him, there would have been a wall around it. I told you about it's like a peninsula shape. And all of the houses of his mighty men would have been close for protection, and that they earned their spot close to the king. So one of David's mighty men was named Uriah, and he had a wife named Bathsheba. So we'll read that story real quick. In the spring of the year, the time when kings go out to battle, full stop, problem. David sent Joab and his servants with him and all Israel, and they ravaged the Ammonites and besieged Rabbah, but David remained in Jerusalem. So the narrator is starting to drop this dark and foreboding cloud over the situation. David's hanging out here, feeling good about his conquests, and he's not in the fight with his men. It happened late one afternoon when David arose from his couch and was walking on the roof of the king's house, that he saw from the roof a woman bathing, and the woman was very beautiful. And David sent and inquired about the woman, and one said, "Is this not Bathsheba, the daughter of Eliam, the wife of Uriah the Hittite?" So David sent messengers and took her, and she came to him, and he lay with her. Now she had been purifying herself from uncleanness. Then she returned to her house, and the woman conceived, and she sent and told David, "I am pregnant." Uh-oh. So David sent word to Joab, "Send me Uriah the Hittite." And Joab sent Uriah to David. When Uriah came to him, David asked how Joab was doing and how the people were doing and how the war was going. Then David said to Uriah, "Go down to your house. Go down to your house. Wash your feet." And Uriah went out of the king's house, and there followed him a present from the king. But Uriah slept at the door of the king's house with all the servants of the Lord, and did not go down to his house. When they told David Uriah did not go down to his house, David said to Uriah, "Have you not come from a journey? Why do you not go down to your house?" Uriah said to David, "The ark and Israel and Judah dwell in booths, and my lord Joab and the servants of my lord are camping in the open field. Shall I then go to my house to eat and to drink and to lie with my wife? As you live, and as your soul lives, I will not do this thing." Then David said to Uriah, "Remain here today also, and tomorrow I will send you back." So Uriah remained in Jerusalem that day and the next. And David invited him, and he ate in his presence, and he drank, so that he made him very drunk. And in the evening he went out to lie on his couch with the servants of his lord, but he did not go down to his house. In the morning David wrote a letter to Joab and sent it by the hand of Uriah. In the letter he wrote, "Set Uriah in the forefront of the hardest fighting, and then draw back from him, that he may be struck down and die." And as Joab was besieging the city, he assigned Uriah to the place where he knew there were valiant men. And the men of the city came out and fought with Joab, and some of the servants of David among the people fell. Uriah the Hittite also died. Then Joab sent and told David all the news about the fighting, and he instructed the messenger, "When you have finished telling all the news about the fighting to the king, then if the king's anger rises, and if he says to you, 'Why did you go so near the city to fight? Did you not know they would shoot from the wall? Who killed Abimelech, the son of Jerubbesheth? Did not a woman cast an upper millstone on him from the wall, so that he died at Thebez? Why did you go so near the wall?' Then you shall say, 'Your servant Uriah the Hittite is dead.'" So the messenger went and came and told David all that Joab had sent him to tell. Now, the first time I came up here, I was by myself. It was right at evening. It was probably about the time of day that David would have been there. And tours were gone. It was quiet, and you can hear the noise of the city. And it's one of the most bone-chilling experiences I've ever had being here, because as cool as this all was, and we're climbing into the shafts and seeing where they did this great commando raid and all this is happening, this is what David was looking at when he made a choice that destroyed his kingdom, just crushed it. And it made me think long and hard about how, what are those patterns of fading? There's just little choices that we make here and there that over time stack up to devastation. It wasn't that David stood on this rooftop and looked down and thought, "Oh, look, a hot woman. I'm going to throw everything away and go sleep with her." He had a harem full of beautiful women from all over the world. He could have had any of them. There was something about how far he'd strayed from God at that point by removing himself from the battlefield and relaxing in luxury and comfort that made him susceptible to one final temptation. So it wasn't that he just, again, tossed it all away. The lesson for me was, man, where are the blind spots in my life that I've been ignoring, that I'm just susceptible to that sin finally gaining a foothold? You think about these guys crawling up the water shaft to get up here. They just had to find one weakness in that fortification. They weren't going to make it up the little wall right there. I mean, look at that wall. They're not going to make it up that thing. They're not going to make it anywhere else around the city. They're going to find one small crack in that wall, and they're going to crawl up there. And that's what opens the gates to destruction coming into their city. So I've always thought from this spot right here, particularly talking to groups of men, this is one of those spots that you just stop and ask yourself, am I hanging out on the roof of my palace when I shouldn't be? And it says right there where it just says David, essentially the narrator is hinting that David should have been out with his men at the time of war. So I want you guys to see this up here, get a glimpse of that. This is the top of his palace? So his palace, they're digging his palace right down here. This is where the gift shop area is at.